evening. You're now watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Vincent Chan, and here's a look at tonight's top stories. Customs officers seized $1.1 billion worth of methamphetamine in their biggest seizure of the drug. A total of 2,800 junior secondary school students joined the Strive and Rise program. And an intruder breaks into the home of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and attacks her husband. Customs officers have made their biggest seizure of methamphetamine. The drugs, worth more than $1 billion, were found in a huge consignment of coconut water. Wenna Wong reports.
It's the biggest batch of methamphetamine the Customs and Excise Department has ever seen in recorded history. The drugs were found among a large shipment of coconut water, weighing a total of 1.8 tons in liquid form, with an estimated street value of around 1.1 billion Hong Kong dollars. Authorities became suspicious due to the shipment's massive load and place of origin. That's because the city's coconut water rarely comes from Mexico. The last such shipment was all the way back in 2016, weighing just 6 kilograms. But this time the load of 600 boxes was a whopping 4 tons. After inspecting the cargo and running them through X-rays, officers found around 150 boxes contained the illicit drug. According to Customs Divisional Commander Aoyang Mancheng, these boxes also looked different from the rest, and traces of white crystallized substances could be found on them. Authorities believe the drugs were meant to end up in Australia, and its detour to Hong Kong this time was to confuse Australian authorities about its real place of origin. Wenna Wong, HKIBC.
Constitutional Affairs Chief Eric Tsang says more people may soon need to swear an oath of allegiance to the Hong Kong government for their jobs. Speaking on radio today, Tsang said authorities are considering adding staff of statutory bodies involving public funds and those working in public utility companies to the list of people who need to pledge allegiance. He also said authorities are thinking about overhauling the district council system. He questioned whether the regional bodies need to be formed through elections and whether they should be politics-focused. A total of 2,800 junior secondary school students will take part in the government's Strive and Rise program. The scheme aims to help pupils from underprivileged families and was kicked off by Chief Secretary Eric Chan today. Joanna Ho reports.
The government has recruited a total of 2,800 secondary school students to participate in its Strive and Rise program, which aims to address intergenerational poverty. The number of pupils participating exceeded the intended target of 2,000 by 40%. Under the pilot scheme, pupils from underprivileged families studying in Form 1 to Form 3 will be paired with a voluntary mentor. The mentors will guide the students on how to take care of finances and help them chart a course in life for a successful future. Speaking at the launch ceremony, Chief Secretary Eric Chan, who heads the program, expressed excitement and thanked the sponsors. He said more than 120 enterprises and organizations had offered support, and a total of $140 million had been raised. Over 3,000 mentors, many of whom are real estate and banking professionals, had volunteered to help out. This mentor wants to go hiking with Ruby, who is in Form 3. She hopes to guide her in picking elective subjects for her upcoming 3-year senior secondary course. This student named Christy hopes her mentor can accompany her when she visits different workplaces. Her mentor, who is from the education sector, hopes she can help Christy in improving her English skills. Each student will receive $5,000 from the scheme to achieve their personal goals. Another $5,000 will be handed out after the completion of the program. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
New COVID cases in the city have eased for the second straight day. Of the 5,383 infections registered today, 372 were among arrivals from outside Hong Kong. The virus claimed 8 more lives. Another 217 people who contracted COVID have been admitted to hospital, taking the total to 1,934. The city's health chief has once again defended the 0+3 arrangement for inbound travelers amid doubts that the measure is not effective in helping the tourism sector. Lo Chengmao explained that many factors have to be considered by the government when adjusting border controls. Joanna Ho reports.
Concerns have been raised regarding the existing 3-day surveillance and movement restriction on inbound travelers after one of the city's oldest and largest travel agencies, Hong Tai Travel Services, decided to wind up yesterday. But Health Chief Lo Chengmao defended the government's 0+3 policy, saying the current measures are effective in coping with the pandemic. Speaking after a radio program, Lo said multiple factors are considered in determining border restrictions, especially after many inbound travelers are now infected with new variants. Lo also stressed that the administration is determined to revamp the existing healthcare system and focus on preventing illness rather than spending more to cure it. The establishment of a primary healthcare authority announced by Chief Executive John Lee in his maiden policy address is expected to promote the concept of family doctor for all and direct the provision of primary healthcare services in the community to alleviate the burden on the public healthcare system. The current shortage of medical workers was also addressed by the health chief, and professionals joining the public healthcare system may have to put in a certain number of years going forward.
Nearly 90% of the citizens of Hong Kong depends on public service. So we have to ensure that we have adequate staff to provide the service. And this actually applies also to those non-locally trained professionals.
Lo said all stakeholders, including medical professional societies, will be consulted before the required term of service is set. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's number 2 official has criticized U.S. lawmakers for urging American bankers to boycott a global financial summit in the city. This came after Senator Jeff Merkley and Congressman Jim McGovern told executives to reconsider their attendance at the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit next week. In a statement released earlier this week, the two Democrats said the bankers' presence would help whitewash alleged human rights abuses by Chinese and Hong Kong authorities. Chief Secretary Eric Chan said the call shows the West will resort to any means to suppress the development of the mainland and Hong Kong. He said it's an exaggerated criticism to relate an ordinary summit to human rights issues and free speech, adding that the U.S. lawmakers are hoping that the event will be a failure. The National Manned Space Program has received 120 payload specialist applications from Hong Kong. Technology Minister Sun Dong said out of the 120 applicants, over half are professionals in biomedical, mechanical, and electronic engineering. Others are experts in fields such as physics and chemistry. 50 are from local universities, while 22 are from government-backed research and development centers and the Hong Kong Productivity Council. Successful applicants will receive allowances from the government and will undergo training on the mainland. Overseas, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband is in stable condition after a man broke into their San Francisco home and attacked him. President Joe Biden condemned the assault and said there's too much political violence. Wena Wong reports.
This is the house that 42-year-old David DePapi broke into. It's the home of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her businessman husband, Paul Pelosi. DePapi reportedly got in through a back door and was heard shouting for the speaker, who was in Washington at the time. Her 82-year-old spouse managed to sneak into the bathroom to call the police. Officers arrived to see DePapi and Pelosi fighting over a hammer, but the intruder managed to pull the weapon away from Pelosi and continued to beat him with it in front of authorities before he was finally subdued.
This was not a random act. This was intentional. And it's wrong. Our elected officials are here to do the business of their cities, their counties, their states, and this nation. Their families don't sign up for this, to be harmed. And it is wrong. And everybody should be disgusted about what happened this morning.
A plane believed to be carrying Nancy Pelosi was spotted landing in San Francisco later in the day as she rushed to hospital to see her husband. Paul Pelosi suffered a skull fracture and serious injuries to an arm and hand, but doctors expect a full recovery. The attack was strongly condemned by President Joe Biden.
This is despicable. There's no place in America. There's too much violence, political violence, too much hatred, too much vitriol. Enough is enough is enough. Every person of good conscience needs to clearly and unambiguously stand up against the violence in our politics, regardless of what your politics are.
DePapi has been charged with several offenses, including attempted homicide and burglary. He is reportedly a Canadian who relocated to the United States 2 decades ago. The attack occurred less than 2 weeks before the U.S. midterm elections. Wen Wang, HKIBC.
Thousands of foreign laborers who helped build Qatar's World Cup stadiums have reportedly been evicted from their homes. According to Reuters news agency, many of them were given 2 hours to pack their belongings and leave. Most are now sleeping on the streets. The flats they vacated will be offered to fans traveling to the oil-rich state for a football showcase tournament, which begins next month. Qatar has been criticized for its treatment of migrant workers. About 6,500 laborers from South Asia died as they toiled in sweltering conditions to get the stadiums ready on time. The Philippine capital, Manila, and nearby towns are preparing for the arrival of a storm that triggered deadly landslide in southern provinces. In Maguindanao, search teams have been recovering bodies after at least 45 people were killed in floods and landslides. Another 60 people are missing. As the cleanup operation continued in the south, cities in the north canceled dozens of flights. Cemeteries in Manila were closed to stop people from taking part in rituals marking All Saints' Day. The Palestinians have challenged the United Nations Security Council to end Israel's occupation of their territory.
Do you have the spine to stand up to occupation, the mighty Security Council? If there is anything more you can do, and you know there is much more that can be done, do it. Do it. Do it now.
I brief you today as the security situation.
The demand came after a special UN coordinator, Tor Wennesland, expressed concern about the worsening violence in the occupied West Bank. He said too many people, mostly Palestinians, are being killed. The UN official added that violence by Jewish settlers has increased, and he urged Israeli security forces to exercise maximum restraint. Israeli diplomat Gilad Erdan accused the UN of bias, but in his statement, Wennesland had also expressed concern about Palestinians' attacks on Israelis. Fans and music legends are mourning the death of Jerry Lee Lewis, one of rock and roll's most outrageous stars, best known for Great Balls on Fire. The U.S. musician's career was mired in controversy from the start when he married his 13-year-old cousin in 1957. After lying low for some time, his rise to fame was meteoric. Apart from a string of hits, which included a whole lot of shaking going on, Lewis was well known for his stage antics. He belonged to a generation of stars that included Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Johnny Cash. Lewis died at his home in Memphis at the age of 87. In a one-sided clash, hosts New Zealand have beaten Wales to reach the semi-finals of the Women's Rugby World Cup. The Welsh defenders could not keep an eye on the ball as the New Zealand passing was just phenomenal. Power combined with pace made crossing the try line second nature for the Black Ferns, rather than a physical effort. With 4 tries in the first half and 5 on the other side of the break, New Zealand were ruthless throughout the match as they wrap up an emphatic 55-3 victory. Birmingham City scored 2 early goals to shoot down high-flying Queen's Park Rangers in the English Championship. The home side went ahead in the 4th minute through Austin Trusty's acrobatic kick after the ball went all over the place from a corner. Birmingham doubled their tally when Emmanuel Longello showed excellent footwork when he received the ball following a series of passes. There was a chance for QPR to get back into the game when Ethan Laird was brought down in the box 12 minutes from time. But John Ruddy made a fine save. Despite losing, Rangers are second on the table, 2 points behind Burnley. Onto the weather now. It will be mainly fine and dry tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 23 and 30 degrees. The wind will pick up after the weekend with some added clouds and rain on Tuesday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Vincent Chan, and good night.